Hello again, everybody. This is Joe Larson. You're watching the 505 on Racing Show. Welcome. I have a couple of guests here tonight. To my left, your right, will be Kevin Basik, Long Island Need for Speed. Welcome.
Thank you.
And Bill Green, past Chief, Floral Park Fire Department, 43-year member. God bless you, man.
Yeah, an old man.
Welcome aboard. Tonight, Joe, we're going to talk our normal racing stuff, but also tonight we're going to talk about drill team racing and some old days racing at Freeport Speedway, or Stadium as they called it, and of course our normal stuff. And Kevin Basik is going to give us some insights on drill team racing and fire department. And I got to tell you, Bill, as a former volunteer fire department, Babylon Village Fire Department, I know what it takes to be a volunteer fireman. And I don't think a lot of people realize that you are truly a volunteer firefighter, and you don't get paid for this. When that bell goes off or the whistle goes off and your pager goes off, you're in your car, you're at the house, and you're at the scene, and it's a thankless job.
It's pretty good. It's, you know, you start to do it, you say, next thing you know, you just get drawn in. Like, so I've been drawn in for 43 years, and, just a family. You know, it's like joining another family, and no matter where you go, anywhere in New York State, you walk into a firehouse,
You're gold.
you're good.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. My brothers are past captains, Babylon Fire Department, and they've been in both over 25 years. I think my one brother's in close to 30. And my brother-in-law as well, my brother-in-law and best friend, Joe Catanzaro, he is also a member, and I believe he's in over 10 years as well. And it's kind of funny when you say the family thing. And I tried to get in my fire department when I was right out of high school, but I lived 2 blocks off their imaginary line to be in Babylon Village Fire Department.
So was it West Islip or was
No, I lived in West Babylon, but I went to Babylon schools, so they said, oh, no, you have a West Babylon address, you can't be in. Well, years later, they changed that, and I was able to join. And I'll tell you why I joined, and you hit the nail right on the head, because you made that family. When my mom passed away, we went to the services, went to the funeral home, and we did all the services. When I got back to my home, the Babylon Village Fire Department cooked enough food for 500 people, and when the cooler was empty, they ran back to the firehouse and filled it back up. And I wanted to give back to them, so I became a member.
Yeah.
And I'd still be a member today if I didn't blow out my ACL, and they didn't want me climbing up and down the trucks and the ladder. So the family, and as a fire department member with family, racing is a family as well. Not only stock car racing, midget racing, but drill team racing, which Kevin talks about every week on our show. He calls in, and it's all encompassed. It's family, and that's important to them.
Yes, there's so many people, including myself. You joined because you're a young kid, and they had a racing team. You said, "Wow, that looks like fun. I'd like to do that." And you wind up going in and joining a racing team, and then from there you kind of you develop. Next thing you know, you're a lieutenant, you're a captain, you're an assistant chief, you're a chief, you're a member of the fire board. There's so many former chiefs and commissioners on Long Island that's really started because racing.
Yeah, when I was in Babylon, they don't have a motorized
you pull the cart.
They have they call the old-fashioned. And because of my foot and my back and my knee and all, I couldn't be on. I wanted so desperately to be on the drill team, and then I had petitioned. I said, "Come on, guys, why you can't get a motorized thing and get into the B rigs and the C rigs that we're going to talk about a little later." And because Babylon's fire department is run by the village board, everything had to go through the village board.
Same as Floral Park, because of Incorporated Village.
Right, we're not part of a fire district.
No.
We're not. They weren't on their own. They had to go to a person that was on the board, who brought it to the board, who brought it to the mayor. The mayor then would meet with the chiefs and the wardens and say yes, no, maybe so. And they didn't want any part of motorized drill team racing in Babylon Village.
It was a sell. You had to sell it to the fire commissioners, you had to sell it to the village, because the village insured the vehicles, and even though if you fundraised the money to pay for the equipment, they still had to insure you, they had to insure you where you practiced. I mean, so they had a monetary investment of what you were doing.
Of course.
So, everybody got involved when it's the village. When it's the district, it's a little easier. The commissioner says, go ahead, you go ahead.
Go ahead. That's it. You have the money, go do it.
Yeah, now you have to kiss everybody's butt when you're on a village.
Oh, yeah. Now, in addition to all this, in between being a firefighter and going up the ranks, you also raced race cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Freeport Speedway, way back when?
Yeah, back in the old days, but a great track, probably the best track on Long Island.
Really?
I started racing the drill team trucks, and then the driver, we had gotten a C truck a couple of years after I had joined. We bought it from the Islip Fire Department, and the driver that drove the B truck, the bigger truck, he didn't want to drive the little one. So they kind of elected me to do it. Said, you should be the driver, because mostly drivers are selected. They don't have to try out.
Right.
They're picked because people have to have confidence in you, like any racing.
Sure.
And so they had the confidence in me to say, you learn to drive. They brought an experienced driver in to show me how to do it. And then eventually he retired. I wound up with both trucks.
Wow.
Then, on and on it went. I started driving the fire trucks, then I wanted to get into the stock car racing, because stock car racing and driving a bulldozer were both on my bucket list. So I have a place in North Carolina, and there was a guy that was going to do some bulldozing that I knew to make room for some property. And he says, you want to drive the bulldozer? I was supposed to go to a barbecue that day. It was like a 4th of July thing. I ran across the street, took off my nice clothes, I put my boots and my dungarees, I went in the backwoods and I drove the guy's bulldozer. I was in bulldozer heaven.
Oh, without a doubt.
And then actually the stock cars, then I started to do that, so that was on the bucket list, so that got done, so little by little I'm chalking them off,
There you go. Yeah, I have a couple of things left on my bucket list. Some we can't talk about here, but I have a bucket list too. Now, Kevin, you're involved in it. A lot of the folks that are out there watching and listening, they don't know the difference between a big rig and a C rig. What's the difference between a big rig and a C rig?
The big rig is basically a fire truck that was all cut down. Well, now they use like tow truck backs and stuff like that. And it's got a pump in there because one event you run, you pump water through the truck. And that's, it's called a B hose tender, right? Where did the name B truck come from anyway, right? B hose tender or something?
When tournaments started years ago, they used to take a regular fire truck.
Yeah.
And they would take all the hose, all the equipment off it, everything, and take just a stripped big fire truck, and they started to race that. And they would just pack enough hose in there to run the hose contest, and things like that. And that's what they did. They were called A rigs.
Okay.
They were Class A fire
pumper,
truck today.
right, Class A
It's still
pumper.
called it's still called a Class A pumper. Those are your frontline vehicles that go to your calls. Then naturally, just like auto racing, little by little, somebody had to make it better.
And faster.
They started to cut the trucks down, make them lighter, and they wound up
with tender.
They wound up with trucks that are basically. It's basically easy to describe. If you look at a tow truck, it's maybe a 30 series Chevrolet cab with a tow truck type back on it, low like that, and. They put a step on the back, and they put big monster motors in these things, and they started to race. So basically, it's a dual rear wheel, probably like a 35 series GMC or something like that, a dually.
You can even pop it up if you go to like the Facebook thing. I don't know if you can do it here, but they'll have
and
pictures
that was called, because A, then they went to B. And then they started to get down to, we're going to get these real speed. Now we're going to go fast. So they started to get Buick back in the 40s. And 50s, they used to get Buick, like convertibles. And they would take the back of the trunk of the Buick, take the trunk lid off, put the hose in the trunk, and they would put a step on the back for the guys to stand on, put a rail across the top to hold on. And they were actually racing Buick cars. And then, naturally, when it went from because the Buicks had the big straight eights in them, they were big motors back then. And then the flatheads came out, so they started to go with Ford pickup trucks, because they had the flatheads. So now you go
the El
from the
Caminos,
6 to the 8.
the El Caminos. Right?
And then Cadillacs came in. The big Cadillac motors, big V8 Cadillac, the overhead valve engines. Now we're racing. So
How's it going?
Now we're going, baby. So they started putting the Cadillac motors in the B trucks and the C trucks. And then Ford came out with the big motor. So they went from Cadillac to Ford. And then when Chevy came out with the 427, that changed again. And everything's 427s, or now the big horsepower small blocks like NASCAR. That's pretty much running NASCAR motors now. Right. The C trucks, they were just kept cutting them down, cutting them down. The C truck basically is a NASCAR modified.
Yep.
It's open wheels in the front, big giant tires. It's running, actually some are on chassis that designed just like the Troyer Engineering type chassis. And,
Yeah, Maynard built a few.
a single seat for the driver. He sits in the middle, kind of like a dirt car.
Yeah.
And they put the steps on, did the whole thing, and these things are so fast that they had to actually they start bracket racing now. You only can go a certain amount of distance in a certain time. If you go faster than that, you're penalized. Because the trucks are so fast that these guys are hanging on the back with one hand doing 80, 85 miles an hour.
In a short
down the
distance.
street.
It's 300 feet, right? The course is
300 feet.
Yeah.
These things are flying.
Yeah, so you're doing 75 miles from a dead start to the 150, that's halfway, and you're doing like 75, 80 miles an hour, and you're hanging onto that freaking bar, and the worst is when you're digging and the ladder's starting to go, and you're trying to hang on, baby. Whoa!
So they had a couple of one bad accident a couple of years ago, and they decided that the trucks were just too fast. And they started to now put times. When you come off the starting line, the first 300 feet, they put a clock there, electronic clock, and you couldn't go past that clock any faster than about 3.5 seconds, I believe, at the time now, from start to that clock. And if you go faster, they penalize your time back. If you go too fast, you're disqualified.
Wow.
Because it just got to be, these trucks are incredible.
Oh, yeah.
They're all custom built, they're unbelievable.
Richie Gottfried from Macbeth's Racing,
Sure.
he went from building
Yeah,
stock
he
car
builds-
motors to
he does our
serial.
team, does North Lyndhurst. Yep.
I mean,
Good engine builder. Real
Unbelievable.
good.
600 horsepower.
No, 800 horsepower.
800 horsepower. Man,
Because these things are unlimited to their horsepower.
Yeah.
They're limited by cubic inches.
Yep.
But
Talk about the old days. You used
they
to
were
run
limited to
blowers.
427, 30 over. But now you take a small block and make a 427 out of a small block, you got a motor.
you got a motor.
You got a motor.
Definitely. A lot of torque and
Yeah,
stuff
you're
like
not,
that.
you're not limited to 358 like NASCAR. You can go all the way up to 427 on a small block. These things were monsters. And they just had to slow them down because it was just too dangerous.
Unbelievable. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk some more fire truck drill team racing when we come back.
Talk about the old days with the blowers.
Transmission of lice occurs from being in the wrong place at the wrong time, like catching a cold or one of those awful stomach bugs. But we at Got Lice have your solution. You have guaranteed peace of mind in every bottle of Got Lice because all of our products are completely natural and organic, but strong enough to cover all your lice removal needs while being safe and effective. Our professional technicians are specially trained with our exclusive proven technique to successfully comb out head lice. We come right to your home at your convenience whenever you want us. We bring everything needed to perform a successful and complete comb out while eliminating your head lice. And we leave you with our exclusive complimentary products to use for the next 10 days following our treatment. Our technicians also check all family members who have been exposed to lice at no additional cost. Please visit us on our website today at gotlice.co or feel free to call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week at 646-257-0121.
This can be the final answer. Now what you say to me tonight, or will you say to me goodbye? For you I will always be waiting. It takes two to mend what has been breaking. If you still choose to go, I'll be singing. I will remember you.
InRavio.com.
Hey, we're back. I'll tell you, I like that set. This set's pretty cool. I like this. Look at that. Unbelievable. And you know, we all fitting on the screen. I thought we were going to have trouble, Skip. All fitting on the screen. But we didn't have it. This desk gets pretty big, you know.
Oh, yeah, it's wide. Oh, yeah, look how wide this thing is, man. Yeah, it's pretty big, man. It's got so much elbow room.
You know, it's funny. Anyway, now the drill team stuff. Now, I used to go when I was a kid to the Fireman's Memorial Park in Lyndhurst, and for the, I guess, the June event. I guess that was like a big state
First
event.
Saturday in June every year.
Every year. And I remember going to that and being amazed as to what was going on there. And this still is going on, like 40 years later. I mean, I was there in the 60s when I first started going. And the place is, you know, they still draw a
it's
good
packed.
crowd.
Oh, it's packed.
It's an all-day event. I mean, you got the parade either the night before, in the morning, whatever it is. And then
Yeah, where do you go for? I think it was $5. I think it's the inflation.
$5?
$5.
I think it's
$5
$7 now. For $7, where do you go and get a full day of racing?
full day.
Yeah.
You're nowhere. You know, and
They had to have, I swear to God, the state drill at Hempstead this year, over 10,000 people.
Wow.
The 50-50 was $10,000. Somebody went home with $10,000. A guy
Wow.
from
The
Bay
winner.
Shore went home with
The winner,
$10,000.
10 grand.
Yep. 10 grand. So there was over, what,
you think they
10,000
reported
people
that
there.
money that they made? You think they claimed it, the 10 grand?
I don't know.
I hope they put it in a bank.
No, they
piecemeal.
donated it to the host department, I heard. They gave it to Hempstead.
Oh, that was nice.
Yeah, they donated. It was
You know, it's funny. I was in a 50-50 at a go-kart banquet, and I said, you know what? If I win, I'm giving it back, because I thought my chances of win were slim to none. I win. I had a guy made the announcement. I give it back. I had to give it back. But I did get a receipt, so I got like a donation for it.
Oh, good.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. It was good. Anyway. Hey, you know, a lot of stuff going on in NASCAR this week with the testing at Daytona, but there's some stuff going on that I need to really kind of mention here. Swan Racing adds a minority owner to its two-car team. Iowa businessman Anthony Marlowe is now a minority owner. Marlowe joins owner Brandon Davis and Bill Romanski, I believe. Romanowski, sorry about that. Marlowe is a co-founder and president of the domestic customer relationship management firm T-Moan. He's also the managing member of private investment firm Iowa City Capital Partners Limited. Swan with 2 Cup cars in 2014, Cole Witt in the car 26, and Parker Kleeman in the car 30. It looks like they brought this guy in because of his financial background, in my opinion. Because as we all know, it costs millions and millions and millions to run a Cup team.
Cash is king.
Cash is king, and and it used to be the guy who raced the best won.
It's the way it should be nowadays.
And it should be, now it's whoever has the most money.
Go back to the old days.
You know?
Better racing.
It's
believe me.
like with Hendrick Motorsports, Steve Letarte. He's leaving Hendrick Motorsports after the 2014 season. Letarte will be joining NBC Sports in the broadcast booth in 2015. Letarte's replacement has yet to be named, but Rick Hendrick usually hires from within and promotes from within, so it should be interesting to see who ends up with that. And it's kind of funny. I know Dale Earnhardt Jr., he's comfortable with Steve Letarte, and I'm sure Dale Jr. is not happy about this move. But hey, think about this. Do you want to be dealing with the pressures of a race team day in and day out, And it doesn't end on Sunday. Monday, you're in the office explaining to the owners and the sponsors why you didn't win. You know, and only one guy can win, and there's 43 cars in the race. And I'm sure there's a lot of pressure on that. So he's going around with Larry McReynolds, champion crew chief, or to announcer. So good for him. And some changes coming with NASCAR qualifying. Qualifying changes are coming to NASCAR in 2014. The days of single car qualifying runs in NASCAR's Camping World Truck Series and the Nationwide Series are over. NASCAR will continue to examine qualifying options in Cup beyond Daytona. Robin Pemberton, Vice President of Competition for NASCAR, states that the traditional qualifying process for the Daytona 500 would remain the same and in place for the Cup Series, but the lineups for nationwide and truck tours would be determined by a format other than single car qualifying, yet to be determined.
Heat races? That's good.
I believe what they're going to do, and I'm only saying this as speculation. Please don't think that I have an inside scoop. Don't be calling NASCAR saying what Joe said. This is just my opinion. Because watching qualifying, in my opinion, is like watching grass grow, especially on super speedways where a lap is a minute. So my gut feeling is they're going to go with practice speeds, like they do in the road course races. So that's just my thing. We'll see. We shall see. 88 Nationwide team, Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s Nationwide car, has a new sponsor for 2014, Ragu. Ragu sauces and whatnot. So.
Oh, that's it. I ain't buying Ragu no.
No more Ragu for Kevin.
No more.
Kevin, I didn't buy Ragu to begin with because I make my own sauce.
I make my own too, but when you're in the jam, get the Ragu out.
Get the Ragu out. Get the Ragu out. What else we got? You're going to love this, Kevin. University of Northern Ohio Battle at the Beach. Tickets are on sale for the second annual Battle of the Beach race, scheduled for Tuesday, February 18th. Guess how much the tickets start?
Is it going to be televised?
I don't know.
Oh,
I
it
don't
was
know.
last year.
It was last year, but
Speed.
guess how much the tickets are? They start at.
Oh, probably $100 knowing NASCAR.
They start at 25.
Oh, 25 bucks?
That's cheaper than not only our local place, but some of the places in Connecticut that we go to.
Oh, yeah, right.
25 bucks. Now, I'm sure you can go in the suite and pay more. I'm sure you can go other places. But tickets start at 25 bucks. And I'll tell you what, there was a lot of racing that night. Whether you were happy with the outcomes or not, there was still a lot of racing. So for 25 bucks, I'm thinking that's pretty cool. That is pretty cool. You know, we'll see what happens with that. But
How many drivers they got going?
you know,
How many cars?
I've been feeling it out. But not that many so far.
Well, I have it.
It's a month away.
Should have ran it at New Smyrna.
You know?
Would have been better.
And I talked about that. I said, because they talked, New Smyrna put it on their schedule. It was on their website. And I guess it was a little premature when they put that on there because all of a sudden NASCAR came out with things, that's not happening. But that would have made sense to me because they have a boatload of race cars and modifieds that show up in New Smyrna that race the
Let
700
the SKs run them too,
Let the SKs go.
Let
But
them all
if they
run
would have did a
together.
tour race that Tuesday night, those guys then would have been eligible or been there for the World Series of Asphalt Auto Racing. And they would have had a nice car count, would have been some nice payoff for some teams. But for some reason, they didn't do that. And it's very expensive to drive and tow and take all your equipment and hotels and whatnot and eat down to Daytona Beach, Florida for this event. I understand what they're trying to do, but just the costs are going to... They're not cup teams. They don't have unlimited budget. These guys have jobs. They got to take off. And it's a full day.
That's why, Joe, I hate to say it, I like the ROC modifies and the Valente modifies. Yeah. You don't have to wear a fire suit, no helmet. It's Saturday night racing.
Yep.
You come in your little hauler and you go home.
And you go.
Like I said, I got respect for your driver there, Wayne Cole and stuff like that. He does it the way me and my brother do it with vintage racing. That's real racers.
But it's funny, speaking of Wade Cole, my new car owner for 2014, his car will be driven to the racetrack on his Ram truck, his old Ram truck.
It's the way to go.
I'll have an enclosed trailer with a dually.
Yeah, but Wayne's got like my brother, the shit hanging off the side of the truck, jack hanging out of the car, tires hanging on the dirt bars.
When we loaded up after Bristol, it was my first experience working with them as a team. And I'm looking at all this stuff. I'm like, where are we putting this? And when we were all done, you could barely see the race car.
We've got that now. We just got a new tire, a wagon, a red wagon. Oh, this is good. Brother's like, what the hell are we going to do with this? I go, Steven, you know, I'm not doing that great heart-wise, the whole 9 yards. I'm not carrying tires. I'm not going to go get gas. I want the wagon, whatever. How the hell are we going to carry this thing? Take the wheels off, wrap it in a blanket, and we'll hang it off the side of the Nerf bars or whatever.
There you go. Yeah.
Goes, yeah, we're going to lose that on the expressway on the way home.
But it's I probably spoke to Wade more than the last month than I spoke to him the last 5 years, and we're pretty excited for 2014 and talking about some stuff. We got my motor, got my seat, it's all good, and the car was just stripped the other day. And you know what the best part of this is? You know, I called him up. Now it's a 3-hour ride for me to get to the race shop from Long Island. It's a 3-hour ride, and I was like, all right, Wade, so you want me to come up next week? No, we're good. You want me to come a weekend? No, we're good. All right, well, when do you really need me to come up then? Right before February, you know, the end of February, right before we go to Thompson for the test. I was like, all right. You can't answer more than that. And the car owner just.
I always looked up every time the tour went. Yeah, I go on the internet, look it up. But I always looked for Wade.
Yeah.
To see how he did, because to me, he reminded me a little of myself when I went to Freeport. And I went by myself. I had no crew.
Right.
It was me and the car.
Yep.
I unloaded the car, I worked on the car, I raced the car, reloaded the car, brought it home, put it back in the garage.
Yeah.
You know, took it off the trailer, worked on it during the week, same round and round we go. And to me, he's like one of the last of the true independents. You know, a guy that
And
gets
he
out
is.
there and goes and does his thing because he just likes to do it.
And he does. He enjoys this. You know, sit in his shop. I couldn't believe the equipment that was in there, and the parts, and then one of the crew guys said, and there's another car upstairs. What do you mean there's another car upstairs? Upstairs in the attic, there was another car, and all the parts to put it back to, you know, put it together and make another race car out of. So I'll tell you what, I got lucky with these guys, and it all goes to say, you know, when you talk about the family, they call it the Wade Cole family of racing with his 3 cars, now 3 cars, and that's what it is. It's with him. It's a family. The wives and the girlfriends are all involved, and who's brother-in-law, who's nephew, who's sister, who's niece, and it's awesome, and I'm really looking forward to it.
It's got to be a somewhat, compared to a lot of these bigger teams, kind of a no-pressure situation.
None.
You know where you fit in the picture.
Right.
You know, you say, look, I'm not going to win, but, you know, I'm going to work my way up. I'm going to qualify, maybe not as high as I should. But I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to go out there and I'm going to just pick off cars one by one. Maybe it'll be a couple of wrecks. I'll move up.
Yeah.
You know, and you're just happy with what you accomplished, and you go home with a smile no matter what.
I just told my crew chief, we had an hour-plus conversation on Sunday, and I just said to my crew chief, I said, you know, to me, you know, just getting back into racing after almost a 20-year absence, you know, of competition, to me, driving it off the track at the end when the checker flag waves will be like a win to me. Because that's the first goal. You got to have goals, and my first goal is let's get out there. The second goal is let's finish on the lead lap, and let's just finish, because you got to start somewhere. So
The old saying, to finish first you got to finish.
first you got to finish.
You're in the infield.
You got to be in it to win it, and like they say with Lotto, and we're going to be in it. And you know, to us, a win is going to be getting all 3 cars back on the trailer without a tow truck or a win. So I think we have the capabilities to be competitive this year. I really do. A lot of people
But I tell you,
don't know.
when I ran my late model the last year I ran it to Freeport before they closed, the first year I made every race, you know, go, you know, you blow an engine, worked all week to put an engine in. And the last year I said, you know what, I'm not going to put myself through this. And I decided to go every other week. I finished higher, had less pressure, and more fun racing every other week than trying to just run that rat race from April all the way through
Oh, yeah.
September.
I've talked to drivers that deliberately miss opening day so they're not in the points, so they can make it a fun thing.
Right.
And at the time I was like, what are you, crazy? But now I'm older, a little wiser. That's not a bad idea.
That's what Buzzy Erickson always said.
You know, yeah.
Same thing. I'm here to have fun.
I mean, I got to miss Thompson, not because I want to, not because of budgetary reasons, because NASCAR won't let me run anything bigger than a half mile, but that's all right. They're doing it for my own thing. Silverback is saying they have 4 cars and more. And I'll tell you what, there was enough stuff in that shop. I'm telling you, there was a lot of stuff. And one
Go,
of the cars wasn't
go to
even
my
there.
brother's shop.
Man.
Right, Billy? Tell him about my brother's shop. All the crap he's got. Oh, my God.
I mean, my stuff is all scattered. I don't even know where some of my stuff is, but
You know, you accumulate, but you never
Yeah, right.
decumulate.
Right.
You know?
Oh, yeah.
I need a new control arm. All right, well, I'll put that one on the side. I need this. Maybe I'll change my brakes this year. You put the other ones in a box. There's nothing wrong with them, but you change them anyhow. You take all that stuff, you clean it up. Basically, we'll maybe talk about later, the street stock car that we built
Yeah.
is all old racing parts that were in crates.
Yeah.
The brakes, the spindles, everything was just all junk. I bought the spindles from Lenny Fisher. I went all the way up to
Wow.
Thompson to the flea market, wound up buying the spindles from Lenny Fisher. I
He's
could
right down
have
the-
drove right out here and got them.
yeah, right around the corner.
Yeah, right to Medford.
But that's what we did. We built that entire car out of old race car parts.
Right, right.
And I think eventually that thing still could turn a good lap.
It's kind of funny, and I look at some of these guys that have, and I'll say they have money, they have the backing, they have sponsors, whatever they have, but they run and if the Nerf bar has a crinkle, they run and get a new one. The bumper has a little thing, they go run and get a new one. I want to get the oldest banged up bumpers and Nerf bars when I go to Riverhead because I know they're going to be worse at the end. It's no sense putting the new stuff on and going to run the short tracks like the Manhattan Knocks and
Just
the
stay out
Riverhead.
of trouble, Joe. Just pace yourself. You know,
That's
half the
it.
field's going. You know
You know?
that. Just
Yeah.
pace yourself.
You're riding the back, and the leaders are coming. Go ahead, go.
You
One
know
of
they're
my
gonna
friends,
crash
maybe
out.
we'll mention later, he used to run, and he would see Lenny Bowler.
Oh yeah,
Lenny Bowler was the guy. He
Well, rest
slapped
in
stuff
peace.
together to race. He was a backyard guy.
He was a backyard guy,
And they said one time
Man.
he'd come off. I think I might have been up at Riverside Park. He said, "You can't run. Your
that's
Nerf
a good
bar's
track.
broken. You can't run with that." He didn't have a piece of steel. He took the jack handle off his jack and welded it to the side of the car. I said, "Okay, let's go."
Go. He was a pioneer,
Oh,
that
yeah.
man. And
You could never videotape the guy. We would hide. I used to try at different races, and he'd like scatter away. Or Lenny, can I talk to you about what you call driving for you, whatever, whoever, like Bugsy Steve, whatever. No, I don't want to talk. I can't talk. I can't do that. And he'd walk away.
low profile.
Yeah, yeah,
low
yeah.
profile. And the team is still similar in that respect. They just go, they park in the far end, they just do their thing, they go racing. Should be interesting. 2014 will be interesting, the Whelan Modified too. And there's a lot of rumors and speculation about who's coming back, who's not coming back.
There are a lot of
guys
people
as well,
ain't
he's
coming
not coming back. And then
He
you
sees out of a ride.
Yeah, he's a multi-champion, can't get a ride.
I don't think he was happy with them anyway.
Well, it's kind of funny. At the time, the three team didn't have a driver. TC, Ted Christopher, didn't have a car to race. And it only made sense to put him in there. And he wasn't happy with that. He didn't win a single race this year, the first time that
Wrecked the pace car.
wrecked
That
the
was
pace
real
car,
nice.
Riverhead. But it's going to be interesting to see how the field of cars pans out in 2014.
You're lucky if you get 24 cars or 22 cars.
Well, that'll be good for me because I won't have to use provisionals that I don't have.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out whatever happened with Johnny Bush. I lost all track of him. I don't know. He was supposed to come back, and I don't know what happened to him. I
Yeah,
went past the house. Trailer's not there anymore, or whatever. I don't know if it's out east at Brigatti's or wherever. I don't know. I don't know what happened. Since Bruce passed away, I think that was it.
yeah, Bruce
You know?
Miglio.
Yeah, he was a good mechanic, man. I remember what those guys.
good guy.
Johnny bought that house out in Huntington
Yeah.
from Ronnie Griffin, Ace Auto Supply. Ronnie
Yeah.
had a shop place in Huntington. He used to sell Hoosier tires
Right.
and parts and things like that out of his house. He had a little store on New York Avenue. Yeah, Johnny, and he moved up to Vermont, and Johnny wanted to buy in his house. I think because he wanted the garage.
Yeah, he
had
wanted
a
the
great
garage.
big,
He's got a-
gigantic garage.
He's got
I think
he's
he
got
wanted
a
the
nice
garage. He
shop
didn't
there.
care about the house.
So one time I was having dinner over there, and I'm like, John, what's the deal with the cabinets, man?
Oh, Johnny Bush.
Charlene burnt the cabinet, whatever. He's like, oh, screw the cabinets, man. What are you kidding me? That's a freaking rear end right there. That's a rear end, a couple of races, Screw it. I go, but John, it still stinks of smoke. It's been a year already. No, that's race car parts.
Race car parts. Got the insurance money.
Yeah, all right.
Hey, you do what you got to do. You're a racer.
Yeah, right.
You're a racer. I don't know. I'm not going to say I never did stuff like that, but we did stuff like that too.
I remember going dirt racing with him. We used to listen to all the big boys, Billy Pouch and Hoffman and all these guys. We used to go to Flemington every week. Then we started going to Middletown, never qualified. the car he bought, the chassis was bent, and you couldn't really tell, even if it was on the jig or whatever. And finally, he figured out what it was wrong. Its chassis was bent, and that's when he went asphalt racing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
He
remember.
started out with figure eights.
He started on figure eights.
True gentleman, though.
Yeah, hell of a nice guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. He drove the 38 car, the Wade Cole car, a couple of times. I think the last time he drove was Waterford, and got into a little skirmish, tore some stuff up. But so many people drove the 38 car and waiting for me to hop in it. And, Silverback could attest to that, it was almost like they'd bring the car and who's driving it? Who's driving the 38 today? And that's how I ended up getting this ride, because joking around one day, I said, who's driving this car? And Wade said, you are. I started unbuttoning my official shirt. I said, my stuff's in the trunk, let's go. That was a knock. We had a good time with that. And then,
That's a good track.
And then it just started to develop, and we started to talk. And the next thing you know, we were sitting down serious. And then the next thing you know, it's serious. And then I hung up that NASCAR official shirt and turned into my fire suit and helmet. And I got my pit road stuff. And went atop the spotter stand at Bristol and had a blast. We had a blast. But we're not allowed to talk about Bristol. Right, Silverback? We don't talk about Bristol anymore. We got strict orders from the team owner. We're not supposed to talk about Bristol. Or anything else. And I can't wear a black hat either. As you notice, I don't wear a black hat anymore.
Right.
This is what you got to do sometimes. Anyway. So drill team stuff. When does drill team racing, their season start?
It starts, Lindenhurst is traditionally
That's the
first
kickoff?
race, first Saturday in June.
Okay.
Yeah, but usually start in May.
The
practice.
teams start practicing as soon as the weather gets warm.
Right.
Matter of fact, the Woodmere Fire Department had a gymnasium in their firehouse, and they had a skylight in the middle of the gymnasium, and they had they have a 25-foot solid one-piece wooden ladder that they use for a couple of the Bucket Brigade contests.
Right,
things like that. You don't break it down. It's 25 feet long. They could get that in their gymnasium, and they stuck it up into the skylight. Then they'd be in January running across the gymnasium floor practicing climbing the ladders all year round.
This
But
is
most of
serious
them-
stuff.
Oh yeah, most of them.
All for a plastic trophy.
Yeah, and but they start around the weather breaks, the beginning of May, and they start getting rocking and rolling.
Right.
Till Lindenhurst, and it runs now. Traditionally, Labor Day was the end of the tournament season. There was Hicksville had a big Labor Day show every year, parade and drill, and I think it was East Islip years back had a big Labor Day drill until until the truck went into the grandstands.
Oh, that was
and then they canceled that
And
out.
then wound up going to Hagen.
Right, and then they moved to Hageman. But that was like it was like basically first Saturday in June to Labor Day. But now they're even running past Labor Day with some of the old-fashioned tournaments. Like
And
you
we
were
have the Town
familiar
of
with.
Babylon tournament,
They
too,
run almost
yeah.
to the end of September now with the
Right.
old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah.
And because there's just so many departments looking for dates. The dates are filled already now for
really?
the season. You try to get a date now, you
No, it's just about every weekend there's something
every
somewhere.
weekend there's something. If it's either like in Nassau County called battalions, Nassau Fire Departments are set up kind of like the Army. There's 9 battalions.
And out
And-
here it's by the town.
Right.
Town
And each
of Babylon.
battalion has about anywhere from say 8 to 12 departments in a battalion. So it's kind of like like the military. It's basically it's a semi-military organization, and so they would have battalion championships, then they would have county championships, and things all that grouped in there along with the major motorized tournaments, which are the racing trucks. Which they race about 2 or 3 times in Hempstead. They race in, say, Lindenhurst,
CI.
Central Islip, Riverhead. They're
Riverhead.
all over Long Island. Well, just about every
Maverick.
weekend you can go, almost like NASCAR. You can
Yeah, just go to
you can chase the tour.
NewYorkStateDrillTeams.com.
Yeah, you could
I
chase
was
the
going to
tour.
ask you, I think for those who missed it, it's NewYorkStateDrillTeams.com. Has a schedule, has results, and everything.
There's even live broadcasts on there on Saturdays if you can't make it to the drill. We used to have TV coverage. I don't know if we're going to do it this upcoming season. But you can listen in and listen to, like we're doing now, a radio broadcast, which is pretty good. And I told them this summer I'd help them out with the TV aspect of it and stuff like that if we're going to do the TV. But the viewing was kind of down because people had to pay for it and stuff like that. They only had 1 camera. I told them with the new camera I got and stuff like that, it's like the beautiful picture perfect, everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I was willing to help them out. So I don't know what's going on with that. So
Yeah. They're doing very well with the radio broadcast. They're not, live, so as to see the announcers, kind of like what you do here.
Right.
But they broadcast. You can sit there. So guys that retired from racing, live in Florida, California, wherever they are, they can just pop on their computer and they can listen to play-by-play of the entire tournament,
Oh, nice.
which is
they
really
give you
nice.
everything. Dig times. They give you the
Yeah,
freaking
they give you
cone
everything.
times.
Mm-hmm.
They give you every racer's name, the history of the racing team, and they talk about practices, and it's pretty. It's a
It's
really
gotten
good
to
thing.
be very.
It's done professional.
big,
It's professional.
professionally.
Really, it's good
Even
enough to
when
be
the-
with Fox Sports.
Right, when
Right,
teams
right.
go on the track, each team gets to pick their introduction music.
Oh yeah.
So they'll pick a music that they like, and they'll say, well, now on the line, Linda Hurst Fires, they start putting their truck up on the line to go. There'll be background music on the speakers into the grandstands of their music that they want to play. And each team can pick their own music and turn it into the guy that does all the computer stuff. And he
Nice.
actually runs your introduction music as you go up to the line to get ready for your run.
Oh,
So
man.
the whole thing is really dramatized up to
sure.
the point where it gets people going,
And you have a scoreboard where they tell you the top 5 teams that are running and the times that they ran, overall points for the day and stuff, which is pretty good.
Now, at the end of the season, you accumulate all your points. Is there like a point champion?
Yeah.
Do they do this?
Yeah, well, naturally, the big one is the New York State Championship.
Right.
That's the Daytona 500 of
Yeah,
fire
that's
truck
kind of
racing.
like the Super Bowl. In other words, you go
Yeah.
through pretty much your whole season. And the third weekend in August, they always have the New York State Championship. And that's held, there's 4 divisions. There's Nassau County, Suffolk County, Northern New York, and Western New York. There's 4 divisions of the New York State Racing. And they rotate the championship around in those 4 divisions. Last year was in Hempstead. So it'll be back probably, I would say, in Central Islip. Not this year, but the year
Year
after.
after.
So every other year it's on Long Island, every other year it's
I
upstate.
think this year it's up there in Deerfield.
Yeah.
It's in
yeah.
Deerfield, then it goes to, and then, and what do you call it, gets in 2 years, yeah.
So you have your county champions, Nassau and Suffolk. You accumulate your points. You get 5 points if you win the event, and 4, 3, 2, 1. First 5 get points.
Right.
And you just add them up, and at the end of the year, there's a total point champion for each county.
Gotcha.
But then the state championship is just every man for himself. You still get the points, but then nothing else counts. This is the biggie. It's the Super Bowl.
Right.
You go up there and you lay it out there and see what you do.
And I tell you, I've been to some of the parades and whatnot, and you see on the side of the trucks, New York State champs and all the years, and it's like, you
Yeah.
take pride in that.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
People
Like I showed you
understand.
my firehouse.
Yeah.
What about, look, you freaked out when you seen all the trophies from this year. And the state championship trophies, all the whole thing. We had 4 in a row and 5-time New York State champions, Northlanders, Piston Knockers.
Wow.
We had 4 in a row, and they were like county champs for like 5 years in a row. Suffolk County champs and stuff like that.
But it's still holding its own.
Not by much,
But it seems you lose teams,
Right.
but then you seem to gain a team. So it's pretty much, it's been able to hold its own, even in economic times, and, the cost of doing things, and the physical end of it, with people being hurt in some departments.
I think that's got to be addressed as far as safety goes.
But it's been able to hold, and the amount of departments that are requesting tournaments show that they still can make $1 at it as hosting it, and they still want the teams to come.
Well, that's, see,
Yeah,
that,
so
that's a
it
good
hasn't
thing.
really fallen
You
apart.
have departments that are still looking for dates. That means there's still an interest there. They're still packing their places when they have these events. I'm telling you, I went to Fireman's Memorial Park, Lyndhurst, and I didn't even know that there was a tournament going on that day. I guess I just crawled from underneath the rock that day, and I couldn't even get near the place, let alone to the park. And then somebody said, "Oh," and I saw the sign. I was, "Oh, the drill teams are having their big tournament." The place is jammed.
It's a party atmosphere too in the pit area and stuff like that. You barbecue all day, and It's a good thing. It's a good thing. The little kids are practicing hose with garden hoses.
Oh, yeah.
They take the hose from the trucks and they're playing with them.
I
Ladders.
started out on my
Yeah,
lawn
little
when I was a
kids.
kid with the garden hose. You know, we run over to the garden hose and we hook one end there, and the other guy would run down the lawn and stick the nozzle on. He'd knock a paper cup over, you know. And then, if you remember with the window washers still use them, the section ladders that you put together
Yep.
for the guys that would clean the windows.
Yep.
Well, I had 2 of those section ladders in my garage my father had. We took them 2 section ladders, laid them against a tree. We run across the lawn and climb up them old wooden section ladders, you know, doing ladder
man.
climbing. I mean,
Yeah, they have the kids race.
it
They
was,
have
you
junior
know, he
kids.
grew up in it, you know.
Then I thought I did wacky things when I was a kid. We actually carved into the woods a figure-8 track for bicycles. And we raced figure-8 bicycles. We kept points. We had officials, you know,
I was doing
protests.
go-karts.
Oh man, and stuff. And I got tired of explaining to my father why my back rims were getting bent. And I couldn't tell him, oh, well, you know, I raced a figure-8 bike and we crashed. So I went to TSS. Remember TSS?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I bought, you know, like the baskets the newspaper guys used to have, you know, the kids.
Yeah.
I put them they were like Nerf balls. The same way
cool.
wheels are getting bent. And, no different. You took your garden hose or
Crazy
the
stuff you
ladder.
did, you know.
Oh,
I have a
man.
place in North Carolina, not too far from the Charlotte Speedway in
Okay.
Salisbury, North Carolina, where John Betts has his new shop
Yep,
now.
yep.
And we have a big pond on the back of the property, and we had an ATV. So we decided that just riding around wasn't no good. We had our kids were young, you know, so we had like one kid was visiting, my 2 kids. We had about 4 kids there. So we decided we'd do time trials. So we decided we'd start at the house up by the road, and you go flying across the field. Then you went into the woods. And we had a place, we actually carved out a place. You had to go around the pond, to the back of the pond, up through the woods, come back again, and go around the pond, and then come back. And we clocked to see who could go the fastest, right? I think it was probably about a half a mile by the time you did this thing. Well, we put this one guy's friend was visiting, and he puts his kid Eddie on the thing, and you can hear the ATV running. You know, okay, he's all right. And we hear this ATV, and this going, he's back in the woods. All of a sudden, the noise stops. So we had another ATV there that was like a chase vehicle, had a rope on it, right? Where's Eddie? You hear anything? No. Eddie drove it he come around the corner and launched it into the pond. Eddie's the ATV sticking in the pond. Eddie's sitting on the side crying. Don't worry, it's okay. We put the rope on it from the other ATV, towed it out, we blew it off, and okay, who's next?
Who's next? There you go.
Oh, God.
All fun. Hey, we're going to take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk some more about some of this interesting stuff that we do that, you know, that other people might think we're crazy. We'll be back. Yeah, figure-8 bike. We had a track in Copaig by Tommy Craft's house.
Mauritius Bay Diner and Restaurant. Steaks, chops, wraps, breakfast skillets. The Mauritius Bay, 62 Montauk Highway in Mauritius, New York. 878-6827. The Mauritius Bay Diner and Restaurant in New York.
InRavio.com.
Stay in tune guitar strings. Guitar strings, bass strings, polish and accessories. Stay in tune guitar strings. Akron, Ohio. www.sitstrings.com.
InRavio. Transmitter? We don't need no stinking transmitter. Welcome to InRavio.com.
Hey, this is Paul Discofani, the disco portion of the Glory Days with Bruce and Disco show on Sundays, 10 a.m. to noon. It's a sports show with a twist. We have entertainment, music, and whatever you want to talk about. Only on InRavio.com, broadcasting to the world.
Good Times Magazine, New York's best entertainment paper for 43 years. Check out their calendar for all the latest music info, including New York City, Queens, Nassau, and Suffolk. Studio News brings you the biggest news about the hottest artists and sounds. Technobeat is your guide to electronica, techno, house, and dubstep. Packtrack keeps you up to date on the biggest events at the area's performing arts centers and theaters. Good Times Magazine gives you all this and more. It's bi-weekly and it's free. Pick up your copy today or visit goodtimesmag.com.
InRavio.com.
Oh, didn't you close that place? Hey, welcome back. We're back. You know, it's funny, we have some interesting discussions during commercial times, and we were just talking about the vintage show that's going to be at Riverhead Raceway, August 16th. And guys are coming from all over the place for that one. And we were talking, it would be nice to be able to find a sponsor for these guys, at least give them toll money, something. We were talking about that. And these guys tow from a long distance, and I know just like me, I just want to go race. But you know what? There comes a point in time where you got to look in your pocket and you go, I want to go home with something. Whether it's a trophy, whether it's a gas card, something to make it worth my while.
Because I have,
gotta work on that.
like I said, me and my brother are members of Garden State Vintage Car Star Senior Auto Racing Tour. That's why I told you, Billy, you should join that.
Yeah.
Since you have that other modified there, that Richie Evans car that you got from my brother. You know, we belong to these clubs. Now, Bob Finan said that he wanted cars that raced on Long Island. Well, I've got a guy, they wanted to come last year. I got the 76 John Bluet's Gremlin that wanted to come. There's a clone car it looks just like a Charlie Jazumbach car, but it's a clone car, but the thing is in mint condition.
Yep.
There's the Gilhern number 12 that wanted to come. There's the 16 of Tommy McCann. There's one right here on Long Island. If you go to Facebook, it's right there. Some guy's building the Tommy McCann car again. There was a 00 Buzzy Rudiman car, and actually, I think it's Jack Duffy's car. That's a member of the Garden State Vintage Club. There's a car from up in New Hampshire that is Georgie Barnhustle's Vega that ran at Freeport. There's also the 49 of Chris Young's Pinto that's up that way, and another Tommy McCann Vega that's up that way. And these guys did race here on the island, and they want to come. And there's a couple other cars. There's a Bodine car. I mean, Jeffrey didn't run the car there, but it's not even a clone car. It's the real Bodine Dick Armstrong Pinto that wanted to come. My brother's car, it did race here on the island, but back in the day it was the red colored number 6. Then painted everything over to the stripes and all those stuff.
Yep.
So, and actually we still got a car for sale. Anybody wants a Troy or Cavalier?
So,
Best offer.
August 16th. Get to see some of these cars do some laps at Riverhead, right here on Long Island. And I watched these guys, because some of the cars you mentioned, I remember watching them do a little show at Lime Rock a couple of years back. And I walked over to the Chris Young car, man, that brought back memories.
That was his Pinto.
The 49 Pinto.
Yeah.
Man, oh man, oh man. And
Those cars were built like tanks.
they were built, you're not kidding. You know, not,
Those are real mods, folks.
Modifieds.
Today, anybody could.
they're all cookie cutters. You
know what I'm saying?
You send them out on a racetrack in primer, you couldn't tell who's who. Back in the day, you could send them out in primer, you could tell that's Charlie Dizon, that's Jimmy Hendrickson, that's this guy, that's
There's a
that
guy in
guy.
a Pinto, a guy in a Gremlin, a guy in a Vega, a guy in a, you know, and
Yeah, but you know what?
that's when you built the
that
cars
other car that you
yourself.
got, Billy, that other
Yeah.
car that you got, that Richie Evans car,
Yeah.
and you started peeling the paint off and you started seeing orange and all that, you were like freaking out my brother Steven because meanwhile, that car came from Wall Stadium. That's why he's got so many freaking cars. We were down at Wall Stadium and we needed a rear end. So that's basically what that car was. Meanwhile, it was all beat to shit crap. And the car was blue, whatever, and I'm like, this might have been freaking Spencer's car a little bit. Look at the color, or whatever. All right, let's just take the thing. Let's just take it. All right, $500. Yeah, okay, $500. And then, then I seen you at that Marty Himes trade show thing, and I was showing you the stuff and said, my brother has this for sale, whatever. Then you wound up going to my brother's. So what'd you think of that? When you went there, you actually went to go look at one car, and you wound up coming home with like 3 cars.
Two
Cars.
Yeah, we wound
And
up
one
with a
car he made into the
package
street
deal.
ride,
Yeah.
and the other one is a
We,
Richie Evans Modified.
I ran into Kevin at Marty Himes. Used to have his reunion at the Changing Times pub in Farmingdale before
right.
he held it at his house. And I took a ride out there with a friend of mine, Billy Murray, who was a master car builder. And
He actually built you a street rod.
got to talking. And again, the bucket list. You know, I talked about the bulldozer. I talked about
Yep.
all the other stuff, right? And driving a race car was on that list. And I happened to mention, I always wanted to have a stock car and drive it on the street. So he pipes up and says, I know where I got one. I says, oh boy, here we go.
Dirt cheap.
Dirt cheap. So he gives me his brother's number. He calls his brother up. I go out to Pennsylvania. We look at the thing,
Oh, this is good.
see what he's got.
Should have brought all
We
the
come
pictures.
back. I talked to Billy Murray because Billy was building it, so he didn't know it. He was, I had to get his okay because we were building the car at his house and my house. And I says, Billy, what do you think? We were kind of between stuff now, Billy worked for HRE Motor Cars, built Shelby Cobras, and I also worked there for a while when I retired from the phone company. But Billy was basically the master behind the Shelby Cobra deal out in Freeport. And so I says, Billy, want to get involved? He says, yeah, all right. Because we've known each other for 40 years. I guess he couldn't say no, So we went back there with a U-Haul trailer,
Oh, jeez.
and there was, it was a Richie Evans, I don't know if it was an Evans built or an Evans clone, but it was a Richie Evans style car because you can tell the difference by looking at the roll cage, whether it's an Evans style or a Troyer style, just by looking at the cage. And we knew it was an Evans style car.
Yeah, remember
That
the
was a-
firewall with the number.
That was a full roller. And the other car that we made to the street car was a 37 Chevrolet sedan body. And he also had a completely bare mid-80s Troyer chassis. So we wound up piling what the hell did we do? We put
One was upside down.
We put the roller, the Evans full roller with the body on the trailer.
Which he still
I
has.
said, well, I guess we'll have to come back. But he said, I ain't coming all the way back to the Poconos with this trailer again.
This is good, this is good.
Bull crap. He
How about the gas, too?
Right next to where his brother's garage was, there was a closed up 86 lumber yard.
Yeah, right next door to the bowling alley. Yeah,
So
right next door.
Murray goes over there and he looks, he finds a couple of 2x4s laying by the lumber yard. So we take the 2x4s and we lay them on the other car, and we take the bare chassis, we turn it upside down.
This is good.
And we slide this thing up the 2x4s. The 2x4s are shaking like this. I said, if these 2x4 brakes were all dead, we're underneath this thing pushing it. So we had it window to window upside down, so it looked like a big box.
Yep.
Then we took the 37 Chevy bare body, we lifted that up, we put it over the top of everything. The whole deal was about 10 feet in the air.
Oh. Show him
And-
put the picture over there. Slide over there.
So now he says, what are we going to do? I guess I was smart enough. I says, I better bring a tarp because we had to go down Route 80 through Pennsylvania, Jersey. These guys with these campaign hats are going to be stopping us every 5 miles. So we put the tarp on, and luckily it was drizzling that day. So we put the top on, we tied it down. We had the extra tires tied onto the side of the car with rope. We had crap
got a
all
lot of
over the
extra
place.
parts, man.
My friend's pickup truck, we had his pickup truck filled with all the old boxes of brakes and junk. And down Route 80 we go. We look like Sanford and Son heading to the junkyard. But we made it home, and
Well, tell them about the gas. The guy's like,
we got the roller on the trailer.
oh, this is good.
And because that sat outside, so the fuel cell was okay, but the can the fuel cell was in probably filled up with water. So we got that on the trailer. We're going along, and the water's leaking out of the back of the fuel cell on the ground. This guy's right up next to him. Oh, he's beeping his horn,
Trying to
You're
flag
leaking gas, you're leaking gas. And we knew it. Don't worry about it, it'll be okay. We pull into a McDonald's and we looking at things leaking. It'll be gone by the time we get home. Everybody's looking at the car, thinking we're losing all our fuel, we're gonna have a fire.
Oh, man.
We got the whole mess home, and then from there, the other one I put in my backyard. I had no room in my driveway left, so I stuck that in the backyard under a green tarp. So the green tarp looked like the bushes because you're not allowed to have vehicles in your backyard, unregistered vehicles. So we put a green tarp on. It looked just like the bushes. Been sitting there for 3 years like that. Nobody knows it's there. And we took the 37 Chevy and the chassis, and that's when we built that street legal modified that we ran this summer. And had a lot of fun
It's
with.
funny you mentioned you get to drive your stock car on the street back, and it had to be 79. I used to go up to this Shell station on 109 in West Babylon. They used to charge my battery for me, give me gas for the race car, because I didn't use racing fuel back then. They had Sunoco 260, but I used to use the Shell high test. It was like, I don't know, 97 octane or something. And we put a little boost in it. So I pulled out of that gas station. I'm on 109. I come to the light by West Babylon High School. And as I'm coming to the light, I feel the back end of my pickup truck like lift up. I'm like, what the heck? I look quick in the mirror. There's no race car and trailer.
Ooh, thing
I
broke
turn,
loose.
I look again, it's coming at me. It broke
man.
free, it's coming at me. The trailer in the car hit the back of the pickup. The trailer goes underneath the wheels of the pickup, and the race car, the front wheels are on the bed of the pickup. I'm like, oh, what are we gonna do? Now, back then we were kind of creative, and we didn't have, the trailer wasn't registered. We had a plate. And we were just so lucky that the color of the little tag matched that year's color. That's how old his plate was, because the color came back. 2 sector cars pull up, Suffolk County. Need a tow truck? No, I'm good. I think we can get this off. So I put the pickup in drive. As I pull forward, the trailer kicks out, and the race car comes bouncing down. So Park Avenue Fuels and oil come right in the triangle there, 109.
Yeah.
I knew the owners. We dragged the trailer there because I broke the
Ball hitch.
boards, and we dragged the trailer there. My race cars, I was still sitting on 109. We drag it there. I'll be right back. I go back. Now I'm trying to, what am I going to do with this car? It's just me. It's not like I could hook a chain and flat tow it. So I said to the officer, kind of tongue in cheek, my mother's house is 6 blocks right on Little East Neck Road. Not even. I'll drive it there.
You weren't the house over there by where Stop and Shop is. Not Stop and Shop.
No.
ShopRite?
Shop- no, we're-
on the corner, there was some guy had a figure-8 car.
Yeah, no, that was Tommy Kraft's house.
No, really?
Yeah,
Right there on the corner?
yeah.
I always look at that
That was
store, even
Tommy-
though I go shopping at
Yeah, that was Tommy Kraft's
ShopRite, and I always remember a figure-8 car there, man.
So the cops talk to each other. Exactly how many blocks. So I tell them what street. Okay. One gets in front of me, one gets behind me. And I'm driving my figure-8 car down Little East Neck Road off of 109. I pull around the corner because my mother's house is on the corner, but the driveway was on the side road. I come around, I pull in the driveway with my race car, the cops are there flashing lights. My mother comes out screaming and yelling, I knew the stock car was going to get you locked up. Look at this. She's screaming at me. Cops, no, relax. We told them to do it. She goes, you're just in bed. So I got to drive my race car on the street. But but that house was ShopRite then. That was Tommy Kraft's house. He had the 37 there.
Yeah, because my grandparents lived just down further. It's a dentist office right across the other Stop and Shop there, where the nursery guy was.
Oh,
the
by
guy,
Bulk's Nursery, by
right
Burger
across
King.
the street. Yeah, right there. Yeah, that's right there. It's my
the
grandparents'
good old
house.
days.
Yeah,
But,
that's
you know,
a small world. I live over that way now. Who the hell
We
knew?
had so much fun back in the day, the stuff that we did. And I try to recreate it in some of the stories I write, but
Yeah, you do write a good book. I
Thank you.
need the first book.
You need a view from the ramp, huh?
Yeah, but some of that stuff in that book, Like you were talking about that you went down to Bristol and you were with friends. I think the friend was Ricky Miller. Tell me the truth. I think it was
Well,
Ricky
if it
Miller.
was a true story, because
You know
I
what I'm
did
saying?
go to Bristol with Ricky Miller.
Right.
And we did talk to Ray Everham.
Right. That's what I'm saying, yeah.
And I'll tell you what, and Ricky Miller, let him rest in peace, man. I miss him.
What do you call knows him
tremendously.
too?
He was such a good guy.
I met Ricky Miller through the fire department
Yeah.
racing. He,
believe it or
every
not.
year, the Woodbury Fire Department, like I mentioned before, had a gymnasium, and their drill team ran a volleyball tournament for the racing teams as a fundraiser.
Right.
And Ricky Miller played volleyball with the Lynbrook Fire Department.
Yeah.
That's where I first met Ricky. And then, we got through the fire department. Then when I started racing, I ran into him at the track, and he did a couple of little articles in some of his columns about myself and, and things like that, how we knew each other. But, yeah, he was a nice guy.
A Ricky Miller story about Bristol, it means that you brought it up. I had tickets to the spring race, and I had 4 tickets. And it was always hard to get 2 other people to come because it was so expensive between the tickets and the hotel and, whatever. So Ricky's wife, Karen, goes, oh, we'll go. Ricky always wanted to go to Bristol. All right, so we rent a car, so we don't have to put miles on our car. We rent a car, and we drive to Bristol. Pick Ricky up at his place, 6 o'clock in the morning, off to Bristol we go. Now, we stayed at a hotel in North Carolina right over the line, because Bristol's kind of where Virginia, Tennessee, and North Carolina
Yeah,
merge.
like right off 81 there.
You could like go across the street and be in one state, go across the street in the other state, and go back across the street in the other state. So here we go, we're driving. Now we find this hotel and right outside, right over the border in North Carolina, and Karen looks it up. It's going to be a little over an hour and a half to get to the track from the hotel. So we're sitting there having breakfast in the hotel, and you could tell who's going to the race because they have their race gear on. They have their new T-shirt and their new sneakers and their new hat. They're ready to go to Bristol. And the guy says to the waitress, now, how do you get to Bristol Speedway? She goes, well, when you leave this parking lot, make a right, and you go over the mountain. Be about half hour, 40 minutes. Now, the directions we had, take a left out of the hotel, be an hour and a half. So I says to Karen, let's go over the mountain. Well, this mountain, it was almost like a single road, no guardrail. You're looking down like 500 feet, and we're twisting, and then we're turning. And Ricky all of a sudden, he goes, roll down the window. Roll down the window. And he gets sick because we're up and down hills, in and out and back. And you look down, like I said, you see nothing, And then we finally get to the bottom of the mountain. We're stopping at the light. And all of a sudden, Ricky goes, I smell asbestos burning. The brakes were smoking. They were glowing red. And then we got onto the highway. We got onto right at 19. And I'm driving. I'm cruising along. And all of a sudden, Karen says, you might want to pull over. Why? I'm going to races. Tennessee State Troopers behind you with flashing lights. Oh, I better pull over. I pull over. He says, didn't you see me there? Didn't you see me on the side of the road? I said, no. He goes, that's because you were going 93 miles an hour. Everything was a blur. That's what he got me for 93 miles an hour. Yeah, but we had a great time. And I had gotten garage passes, so we were down in the garage, and we found Ray Everham, and Ricky and Ray were sitting there chatting for a while, and he was in his glory, and we had such a great time. We went there twice, with them. And
he knew everything. He knew drill team racing, stock car racing. Like one time I'd pick him up, we'd do the Lindenhurst drill, and he's like, what time is it? Well, well, let's go. We got to get to Riverhead, I'm like, all right, Ricky, all right. We'll get there, all right.
Yeah, he was good. Great people, great people. One of those things, But anyway, I had a great time, and that's so that part of that book was kind of taken off from that
time.
You
mentioned my church over there in Lindenhurst, LPH.
OLPH.
Yeah. So that's truth.
I'm in the Knights of Columbus in the OLPH.
Still, yeah.
Still, yeah.
Oh, that's good.
I've been in the Knights of Columbus for a long time. It's 86. I've been in the Knights. But I only went to OLPH, Knights of Columbus, because I moved from where I was at Sacred Heart in Center Ridge. I moved to Babylon.
Right.
And Babylon really didn't have a Knights of Columbus. I don't know, we're talking about Knights of Columbus on the racing show, but that's okay. And my Uncle Eddie, my great Uncle Eddie, he was a member there 70 years. So it made sense for me to go there, because I kind of knew something. And my brother's father-in-law was members there, so that's where he ended up. So, but it's all fun. But I miss Ricky. I miss talking to him.
So do I. He was Long Island Need for Speed. You know, I can't actually. If anybody wants to help with Long Island Need for Speed, either you know drill team racing or you know stock car racing, I need somebody to be a pit reporter. I love filming and all that. You know, my girlfriend's not into it. Betty, she's not into it really that much. She'd rather go to the beach. You know the deal. You know Betty. Yeah. She'd rather go to the beach.
I'd rather go to the beach too some days.
I'm into my racing. You know me. I'm into my racing. I could spend the whole day doing that. So.
That's why I'm glad I'm only doing like 9 races, because you know the other 6 or 7, I probably still have to be there, but I only have to be there race day, you know.
Right.
I get like time to do my own thing. You know, go skydiving, you know, fly a plane, stuff like that's on my bucket list, you know.
It's good.
It's all good. It's all good. It's all good.
That's definitely good.
Anyway, I see you know, Bill, you got some notes there. Did we hit on all your notes there? I see you got some
I just
stuff.
wrote a few little things down. Things that we kind of know. You know, our kids did a lot of go-kart racing on
Yeah.
Long Island.
But you were in go-karts way before I was, because you were part of the Bruno's group.
Yeah, we were used to go-karts. I don't even know when 1997 to about 99 for a few
Okay.
years then. That's when Billy Dennison
Oh, yeah.
went to Long Island.
Yep.
Hey, I got respect for that guy.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't like him, but I got respect for that man.
He ran it then.
Yeah.
We ran it one day. You know, my son, he's about 17 years old, my oldest son. He says, you know, we've got the go-kart stuff, you know. He says, hey, come on, we'll go to Jones Beach and we'll watch the go-karts, you know. So we went down there with him and we watched him run. I says to him, you like to do this? He says, yeah. I guess, you know, the apple didn't fall far from the tree, you know,
Yep.
so it was in the blood. He says, yeah. So I got to talking to a guy there, and he showed me a go-kart, and I says, all right. So we went out and got ourselves a used go-kart, you know, and put him out there, and he ran the first year in the amateur division. You know, they just gave everybody a trophy, you know, there was no points or nothing, just
Right.
if people get started. We had some fun at it, and then we went into the next division, you know, where you actually got trophies in the stock medium division, you know, in the open engines and stuff, and we had a lot of fun with it. We raced at Jones Beach.
Field 5.
Out in the asphalt, I mean, in a concrete parking lot in Jones
Yep.
Beach. Talk about tearing up tires.
Yep.
And then they ran at Medford. We ran there, and that was, I think, Friday night shows. Whatever it
Yep,
was,
Friday
Medford.
night. Tuesday night practice, Friday night racing.
Yep, that was a tough place to race.
I raced in the over 35 division
Them
then.
Now-
guys were
was
tough.
Eddie's
They didn't take no
Trailers.
prisoners in that place, I'll tell
Yeah.
you what, you know. And you had to be tough. You wanted to race there. You had to take it.
You know, it's funny. When my son was the first one in our family to go go-kart racing, and we went to Jones Beach. I'll never forget. It was cold. It was windy.
Yeah.
And we went racing, and my wife was all upset, you know, because she said, "Oh, what about your daughter? Maybe she wants to do this." All right, so I went and got her one, you know, and she just didn't really think I would go do that, but we ended up doing it. And then we go to Medford, and we're racing Medford, and what a place. So Tommy Bonsignor comes up to me and goes, there's an over 35 class, you know, 35 years and older. We got a cart. You want to run it? You don't have to ask me twice. So I hop in this thing. Oh man, was I beaten. I felt like I just got beat up by like 10 guys at once. Not that I know what that would feel like, but I can only imagine. And it was like, I was hurting. I was Mark Tucker.
yeah.
I was racing with Mark Tucker. I was,
Yeah.
oh man, and these guys that were racing in these things forever. I was done. My arms hurt. I put them on my lap and they raised by themselves. I'm like, oh, my arms are killing me. I'm trying to drive home. My arms hurt.
I drove one time. My youngest son, how he wound up in the go-karts. I'm in North Carolina. I had to deliver a Cobra to Rock Hill, South Carolina, right over the border
Yep.
from Freeport. So I go down in the flatbed truck. He said, look, take a couple of days. You know, it's a long ride. So I drive all the way down there one shot. Next morning, I deliver the car. I come back. I got the empty flatbed truck. And it's funny how Billy Andrews, who owned HRE Motor Cars, says to me, oh, you know, you're coming back with an empty flatbed. Don't come back empty. There's got to be something down there you can find to bring home, you know, North Carolina, come on, you know. So I said, well, I would think about it. Yeah, I'll look around. So I'm riding along, and I see a pawn shop, and a guy's got a sign out
geez.
front, go-kart. I said, oh, I got to check this out. So I go in there, and I look, and I see this old go-kart sitting in there. The guy says, what do you want for this thing? I said, I'm looking for like $350 for this thing. It had a motor on it. They were racing it around the parking lot. They burned the motor up. He said, we ran it till it ran out of oil and gas, and then we just put it back in the shop. So I says, well, let's have me play the game. I go outside. I talk to my brother-in-law. He had a station, his car there, right? I says, I walked back in. I got 3 $100 bills. I put them down. I said, look, you can tell right away by my sound of my voice, I'm not from around here. I says, I'm a Yankee. I says, I came down here to deliver a car. I said, got $300 to get me back to New York. I said, all I got extra. I said, the rest is for gas. What do you say? The guy goes, take it. So I took it, I put it on a flatbed truck, and I drove back to New York with a go-kart on this big giant flatbed truck all chained down. I back up in the driveway, because that night I was going to bring the truck back in the morning to HRE. I get my young kid, I say, hey, Bobby, come on outside. I got something outside. I want you to look at it. He walks outside, and there's the go-kart sitting on the track. The kid flipped out. I'm going to race, because one brother races, the other one's got to race, too.
Yeah.
One can't do something without the other.
I had all 4 of my kids at the time
so they all
racing.
started doing it. We wound up all over the place, Bedford. And, but talk about getting in the kart yourself. They had a place, Bruno's Super Speedway, they called it. It was the Carpenters Union Hall on off 110. What's the road the back of it?
Pine Lawn.
Pine Lawn Road?
Yep.
Right off Pine Lawn Road. So we go there, and my youngest son had hurt his ankle playing soccer. I told him, you got to stick with car racing. That round ball stuff is too dangerous. You got to stay with race cars, So I said, well, I got the cart there. They said they had the over 35 guys, right? Screw it, I'll get in the thing. I'm 6'2". I squeezed myself in a junior. We took the restrictor plate off the thing. We put the regular carburetor back on. I squeezed myself in this thing. I had to be shoved, I had to like put oil all over me to get me in this thing. Right? I squeezed in there. It's a 50-lap race.
Oh, God.
Bruno's, it was like, that thing was about maybe 1/10 of a mile. I mean, you just about in a turn every time. 50 laps. Well, I'm running last out of like 5 carts, because I never did this before. The other guys did it. One guy, something happened. He goes off the track. Now I'm running fourth. Yeah, not too bad. About 3 laps to go. The guy in front of me, tire comes off the rim.
Oh, God.
And I wasn't catching any of these guys. I was like I think it was lapped by all of them. So at about 3-4 laps to go, he pulls off. I'm in third. So I wind up coming in third, and I get the T-shirt that says, I survived Bruno's Super Speedway. But when I come off that track, they had to peel me out of that go-kart. I couldn't get out of the seat. I couldn't move. I almost stood up, and the go-kart was stuck to my body.
Yeah. That was all fun
No
stuff.
suspension. Just go. Yeah.
Well, my kids are doing it. They ran Medford, Riverhead, and West Hampton.
Yeah, we ran there too.
West Hampton was nice.
It was West Hampton's 3 and 4 turn was the original West
The
Hampton
original
stock car
times,
track.
yeah.
Yeah.
Back when the Cup guys ran it, they called it Grand National back
Yep, and the
then.
modifieds ran there up until like the early 60s.
I
Yeah.
remember in the late 70s, they had what they called a double O for figure 8 cars, where one set of cars was going on the big track, and one set of cars was going on a little track that shared the turn. So the big track that had the big 3 and 4 high bank corner had a flat 1 and 2, and the other one had a flat 3 and 4, but a high banked 1 and 2. And you had flags on your cars, so you knew which the red cars were on that track, and it was like worse than a figure 8. It was a nightmare, but it was it was fun back
I
then.
would have liked to have Tiller races.
That was
Figure 8
fun.
Tiller
Yeah.
races.
Well,
I was kind of like the bad boy because, like I said, I had my place in North Carolina, so I have to look around. I found the go-kart shop down there wasn't far from me, and I says, well, let me go, go down, say hello, and buy some parts. So I didn't buy any of my parts from Long Island, from Crew or from Bonsigno, the guys that had the stuff. I was buying all my stuff in North Carolina. So right off the bat, and I built my own engines. I have a milling machine in my basement that I brought down the basement to bore out the blocks and put steel sleeves in. I was building all the engines myself in my basement, so I wasn't even buying engines from local. I was doing everything myself. So they didn't know what I was doing. And the shop in North Carolina, the fella Jamie who ran the shop, he was a national level racer. He raced national. He was a national level dirt track, top 10 national dirt track racer in the go-karts. His father built the motors in the back of the shop. So I got to talking to Pop. I said, how you doing, Pop? He would give me all the tricks that he was using in the motors, how he was told, try this, do this, change this valve adjustment, do this. And he was helping me with all the little tricks that they learned down there running the national events. So I would come up and do that, and we ran good. And we were actually outrunning the local guys, you know. But they all thought, you know, they didn't like us because we always parked down the very end, and they didn't know who built what was in our motors because they weren't being built local. They didn't know what we were doing. Everything we were doing was legal, but they didn't know. So we became the bad guys. You know, watch
Well,
these
that's like
guys. Watch
Lyndhurst
these guys.
Snails.
They get all they're from out of they're out of state races. You know.
Yeah.
So, you know, in the end, you know, we had some problems. They broke our motor down. They told it was illegal after my son was winning the championship. And they teched the motor, and they told us the motor was illegal because it had illegal valve springs, which they weren't, you know. And I actually brought the springs to WKA, and I actually brought the springs to the guy that built them in North Carolina. I actually made a side trip going down to North Carolina, brought the guy a spring. The guy said, they do this to me all the time. That's a legal spring. And WK said, well, is it a WKA sanctioned event? They said, that's a local thing. They use your rule book. They said, well, we can't help you because it's not, you can't protest. So in the end, what happened, of course, my kid the championship because they went headhunting because they wanted, I won't mention names, but they wanted this kid to win. All right? So they headhunted us. They waited till the very late, almost when.
Sounds like any local
and they
race.
took our points away to the point where we couldn't catch up. So we wound up second instead of first, you know. But in the end, I felt bad for my kid because I wouldn't cheat to make my kid, you know, look bad. I just wouldn't do that. And he just come up to me and said, Dad, he says, it doesn't matter. We knew who was better.
Yeah.
And to me, that settled it. You know, it smoothed it over. It made it legit. He was happy. He knew we weren't cheating. And he said, don't worry about it. Yeah. You know, so it actually made me feel better. It's kind of like your Bristol thing, you know.
Yeah.
And then after that, we started to go up to Poughkeepsie. The guy from Suffolk County had bought the track. It was a dirt track. He made it asphalt. We ran up there for a while. It was a nice place. It was a long ride.
Went up there.
Long ride, but you know, there were some tough races up there. But then after that, we ran one more race at Riverhead. Like I said, they didn't like us. This was before the new people took over, and they decided that we couldn't run in the medium division because these guys were trying to settle a championship. We only came just for the one race, so they put us in with the amateur division. The kid started last, and every lap he passed the cart, and won by a half a lap, you know.
Right.
But you know,
I know
after
it's
that,
funny,
we sold everything, and that was the end.
But
of
the
it.
go-karts that running at Riverhead, it was like a super speedway to them.
Oh yeah.
The go-karts turned faster lap times than the Charger cars.
Yes, we were averaging
Unbelievable.
about 60, mid-60s, I think, in the go-karts going around that place.
That's like 13.8, 14.2
Now,
range in time.
And then we went up to
seconds.
Thunder Road. You ever been to Thunder Road? They got 33-degree bankings, a third of a mile stock car track.
Oh,
So
yeah,
you
it's
stand
upstate
by
New
the
York.
bank, and you can't see the bottom of the track. And in a stock Briggs & Stratton motor, with just a stock Briggs & Stratton carburetor, they were doing 75-mile-an-hour laps. The guys with the Tillotson and motorcycle carburetors and the modified engines were doing 104-mile-an-hour laps, and you're sitting with your butt 3/4 of an inch off the ground with nothing underneath you but the fiberglass. You know? And, wow, were those things flying.
Oh, yeah. I love
Flying.
it. I love go-karting.
But it was wild. I would watch the kid come down the straightaway and he'd disappear into the turn. And I'd be just standing going, come on, come on, come on. All of a sudden, I see him coming back out again.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's one more done.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
Oh, man.
Anyway, hey, the big band Voodoo Daddy is coming to the Paramount Theater in Huntington, Long Island, New York, Saturday, January 18th at 8 p.m. And Radio's got your tickets. Click on the contest tab and above us. And to enter to win, log on to ParamountNewYork.com for a complete listing of all the shows. So Paramount, they have some good stuff there. They're a marketing partner with us.
Yeah, it's
Check
a
them out.
good place to
There's
go
lot
see a
of-
concert, man.
A lot of stuff goes on at the Paramount. I'll tell you what.
It's a good place.
I didn't realize it until somebody else I know went there and was telling me
it's
about
good.
it. Because it was just something that, not that I would do, but I would now.
Definitely go.
So, Paramount Voodoo Daddy is coming up next, January 18th. And go again to ParamountNewYork.com for a listing of all their shows and tell them in Radio sent you. But anyway, so, going back to the go-karts, like you're talking about going fast and you don't want, so they don't want certain people to, well, my daughter had run maybe 12 or 14 races in a row.
Wow.
And I'll be honest, we were on the deal. Bonsignor built our carts. Frankie Bonsignor built our motors. Bill Dennison was my right-hand man on Saturday nights in NASCAR.
Yeah.
We were on the deal. Well, a driver who races now stock cars, I'm not going to say he was, blows my kid away. Blows my kid away, right? And I'm saying, what is she doing? I'm saying to myself, I got the best of everything. This kid shouldn't pass her like she stopped at 7-Eleven for coffee. The race ends, the top three, she's second, top three go into the tech area. Off comes the gloves, throws them down, the helmet, throws them down. What are you doing? She goes, Dad, I never drove so fast in my life, and he passed me like I thought, he's cheating. Just like that.
Yeah.
So, I forget the guy's name, but Eddie Heim. Eddie Heim was the tech guy.
He's the guy that teched me out.
Eddie Heim says, well, take a look at it. Don't worry about it. Just relax. And she starts yelling at him. And he goes, if you don't shut up, you're going to be disqualified. Go to your trailer. Turns out, this driver, it was a restrictor plate race. He had the restrictor plate, but he had it all cut out. So he ran unrestricted.
Yeah.
Oh, what kind of car does the guy drive now? Modified?
No.
But, you know, racing was
wasn't
racing.
him.
And everybody, you know, that's why rule books start out this thick and they wind up this thick. Same thing with the restrictor plate. They used to drill little holes. So some of the guys, the national guys, they used to have a laser cut. You know, cut little holes to get a little more air into the motor.
Just a little bit.
You couldn't tell until you really looked at that plate really, really close.
Yeah.
Just to get that little, they just put little holes all around it. You just go like that, it looked fine.
Yep, you just hold it, it looks good.
Yeah.
You know, it's funny, I know of, and I'll admit that I did this. My daughter, Jessica, broke her wrist playing soccer.
My kid broke his foot, same
They
deal.
wouldn't let her race because she had a cast. But the rules said that you could have a substitute driver for 2 events.
Right.
All right, so my daughter Erin's going to sit in, just finish, don't tear the thing up. So we go, I never raced a champ car before, Dad. You know, I wish I could practice. Well, I had the keys to the place, so I go out to Riverhead one Friday afternoon, and we raced till we ran out of gas. I put the cones up, run this line, you'll be fine. Well, the race comes, she starts last, she ends up coming in second. And we're going through tech, and she goes, and Jessica goes, you're not going to be second. And I goes, I finished second. No, you're not going to be second. So Aaron goes, why not, Jessica? Because I weigh more than you. And when we get on the scale, it just tips. So it's just perfect. You're going to be DQ for being too light. So Aaron's like, Dad, we're going to be disqualified. No, we're not. Go to the trailer.
Pull out the lead.
Get out the lead, put it in the helmet, put the gloves, put the helmet on the seat. So yeah, I did cheat, but it's not cheat unless you get caught, they say.
That's right.
So technically, I didn't cheat.
Yeah.
But oof.
They used to do all kinds of tricks. They would put lead shot in the chassis. That way, you know, when the lead shot would move, you could move the lead shot back and forth. You know, they used to do it with the race cars too. They used to put the weights in the chassis, then the driver could, you know, if you started getting low on gas, he could move the weight to the back of the car.
The toolbox on the back bumper thing, and I cut, you know,
I had a weight in my figure eight car. It was a 50-pound weight. I put it on a slider, and I would go into the corner, and the weight would slide to where I needed it to be. And I go in the other corner, and the weight would slide back where I needed it to be. And there was no percentage rules left, right. There was a rear percentage rule, but the weight just ran across. It ran actually behind the seat, in between the 2 roll cage posts, and it just went back and forth. And I don't know if it really did any good, but in my mind it did.
Psychological.
So that's
thing.
all that mattered to me.
Yeah. We used to do this when we had the Charger car. We ran a number 90 Charger car that Mike Harrell drove out of Riverhead.
Remember it well?
And we had that car so close. We'd tell Mike, when you go to the scales, you move your ass over as far to the right in that seat as you can. And when you take your helmet off, you put it all the way over by the window. Because we need that extra 2 pounds.
Yep.
And he would just make it. He'd take that helmet, put it all over you. As far as he could lean over without telling him to straighten up. He'd be over like this. And
my buddy Chuck, he ran his Charger car, and he's one of the principals of InRavio, and he came in like second or something in his Charger car. And I was pretty excited for him, you know. So later on tonight, I said, they're all bummed out. So what's the matter? He goes, got DQ. I goes, why? He goes, it was too light. So how could you be too light? He goes, well, my car was right there, and I hadn't been here in a couple weeks, and I lost 35 pounds. So I was too late. I was like, oh, man, that stinks.
It's
That
pretty
really
wild.
stinks. But all of those things you do. Hey,
Gotta-
we're going to take a break. I think we missed one. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about more stuff that Bill did in olden days. We'll be back.
Stop putting it off and start painting it up today at Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore paints, Sickens, wood finishes, paints, and professional paint supplies, ideal for contractors and homeowners, stain paints and epoxies, family owned and operating, in business for over 55 years, professional and experienced help, located at 2 locations, 55B Route 25, Coram, Long Island, New York, and 1495 Plaza, Montauk Highway, Mastic, New York. Call them at 775-7435 and 775-8135. Ben's Paint Station, featuring Benjamin Moore Paints. Log on to the Radio Advertisers page today.
InRadio.com.
East End Screen Printing and Embroidery. Shirts for as low as $3 with print. 631-281-TEES. That's 631-281-TEES. 1355F Montauk Highway, Mastic, Long Island, New York. Go to eastendsilkscreenprinting.com for more info.
Hanging with the cool kids at InRadio.com.
Hey guys, it's Christine from Backwater. Tune in every Saturday night from 7 to 9 for music history, musicians' birthday blocks, trivia time, and the best alternative music around. Saturdays at 7, only on InRadio.com, broadcasting to the world.
Sud City Car Wash, Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York. $9.99 early bird special Monday through Thursday, 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. Phone 395-6114. Sud City Car Wash. Hand washes, hand waxes, and detailing. Interior cleaning, brushless, car wash club. Simonized products. Sud City Car Wash. Montauk Highway in Mastic, Long Island, New York.
InRadio.com.
Oh, yeah, I gotta do it.
Just talking during the break. You think you're talking about Freeport?
Hey, we're back. Hey, I wanted to mention a former modified driver raced back in the day, I guess the 50s and the 60s. Georgie Tet.
Yeah, I was a big fan of his.
He passed away.
Geisha Girl.
He drove the X9 and the Geisha Girl car as well. So I believe he passed away last week.
He used to drive a Falcon.
I remember watching him race. I remember that little Geisha Girl little painting on the back of his cars.
It's on the side.
You know, little like the quarter panel.
Yeah, he was the only Asian driver.
Yeah.
He was a
good.
Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that wasn't his real name. His real name was like,
Big, long
17
Japanese
syllables
name,
long.
yeah.
But he was known as Georgie Tet. So, prayers go out to Georgie's family and whatnot. Anyway, I don't know if we could see this, but this is earlier.
There you go.
had spoken about this a modified that's street legal.
That was junk.
All right, this is a 37. What do they call this? A 37.
37 Chevrolet sedan. It's on a mid-'80s Troyer chassis that we built.
Street legal.
Cops are always pulling them over, though.
Took us 2.5 years to build it. All done in-house, and I got to give a shout out to my friend Bill Murray. Most of the guys in racing and up at the River know him. He worked with Tony Ferrenti, and he actually worked with Axel Anderson when he drove.
Wow.
With that gang, Axel Anderson and that whole group.
Yeah.
He was the mastermind behind building this car. It was all his design and idea. I was the guy that did the Bondo and hey, grind that weld off. Okay, Bill.
Yeah.
But he's built some exceptional. He built the fastest Cobra in the world out of HRE motor cars, a twin turbo 427 Roush motor. And he's quite an engine builder and a car builder, fabricator. But together we built that car in about 2.5 years. It was a total pile of junk. Like I said before, we towed it home like Sanford and Son from Pennsylvania, and we started to work on it. And it's a showstopper.
Sure is, yeah. You got a lot of trophies and stuff.
Yeah, we never really didn't do it to win trophies, but just taking to some of the shows, we wound up winning trophies. Just by chance.
I was at the Sayville Fest when they had the cars all lined up on Main Street, and there was a guy who had a street legal Pinto.
Yes.
And I was looking at it, and that thing would have passed tech.
Yeah.
And I went through, I'm looking at it, it had the tethers, it had everything, it had the right fuel cell, it had the right, drive shaft.
There's supposed to be a Cavalier out there, too, from Bayshore that's street
There's
legal,
a guy
too,
in
right?
Bayshore with a repair shop. He was in that magazine that you see in the auto parts stores. I can't think of the name of it now. Full Throttle.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
His car was in there. Supposedly him and his son found a car upstate New York, a Cavalier. They brought it back in and they put 2 seats in it, and it's a street legal Troyer Cavalier.
Right.
I haven't got in touch with the guy yet, but I'd like to put the 2 cars together, then and now,
nice. Yeah.
and then take a nice photo. But maybe this summer I'll
definitely.
try to hook up with the guy and do that.
Now, we also have a picture of this is your late model
That was
from the
me
Freeport
running
days. I don't know if you could
the old
see
Freeport
that.
Speedway.
But, right on there we go, here. Here we go, right here. It says Freeport. Those are the days back in Freeport. And I raced at Freeport once back in '79 because... No, this is what happened. It's a kind of funny story. My best friend in high school, his father was a teacher at West Baldwin High School, where a certain late model driver, Ron Gibbs, was a teacher.
I sold that number 50 car to Ron Gibbs.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yep.
Ron Gibbs was at my friend's father's, my friend's house, doing a tune-up on his car. So we were talking, and he was wearing a Freeport Speedway shirt, and I had my Ford hat and some other stupid stuff on. And my friend says, he races stock cars. You probably know him. I don't know this guy. What's his name? Ron Gibbs. I don't know. I said, you race? I said, where do you race? He goes, oh, Freeport. I said, I race at Islip. Oh, we're talking. He raced late models. I did figure it. Well, a couple of weeks later, I see him at my friend's house again. Now he's doing a brake job. Last week he was doing a tune-up. So a couple of weeks later. So I says, you getting ready? You ready for tomorrow? It's like a Friday afternoon. He goes, nah, I'm suspended, he says. You're suspended? I said, that's funny, so am I. So joking around, I says, well, why don't you take my car to Islip, but I'll take your car to Freeport. That's what happened.
No kidding.
I warmed it up. I was in over my head,
I spent a few weeks suspended at Freeport now and then,
Yeah.
Me and Mike Cass.
Oh, Mike Cass. I remember Mike Cass well.
Me and Mike kind of butted heads a few times, and he says, you're down for 2 weeks. I said, I'll take a vacation. I don't care. You only got 20 cars. You need me more than I need you. So
I never seen any fights at Freeport.
not too bad.
Yeah. I was walked out of Islip and Riverhead on many
I
occasions.
seen one year they had the Suffolk County Riot Patrol there at Ice Speedway. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah.
But Freeport was the only place that had a bar in the pits.
Pit Stop Lounge.
Pit Stop
baby.
Lounge. It was
Oh, yeah.
a bar in the pits itself
Up
for the
top,
drivers.
yeah, up top,
Right off the back of turn 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll tell you, Mike Campy ran the place back then.
Yeah.
Mike Campy and his brother, their family owned the Cremosa Cheese Company.
Yep.
And I'll tell you, Mike was good to the races. He would tell the racers, if you get a $500. You get a sponsorship to put their name on the wall at the Speedway. The $500 will go right back into your guy's point fund. He didn't even want any of the money. He said, if you get the sponsor on the wall, the money goes back into. They had a special point fund for guys that got sponsors, and they had a special point fund for the late models. He put everything back to the drivers.
You know, that's what's missing.
Long Island was the hotbed of racing.
It was.
It was the hotbed. Bugsy Stevens, Richie Evans, Jerry Cook, all these guys used to come from Massachusetts, freaking Connecticut, Jersey,
Upstate New
whatever,
York.
just to come run here on a Saturday or Friday night.
Yep.
That was one of the track. You could run too
God.
wide on that place. You could do it and not be worried about getting hammered into the wall. You could actually go too wide around that track and race. He ran a good place. And I know when we ran the late models, Paul Masseri was the hot dog back then.
41 car.
Paulie.
41
And,
car.
Paulie and the guy from out in Riverhead,
Teddy
Bob
Wisnowski,
Chakowski, they both had 69 Chevelles, and they would beat on each other every night. Paulie
Who
won
drove
all.
the Spelly Brothers car?
Huh?
The number 3, the Spelly Brothers car. Was that Teddy Wisnowski?
Yeah.
Oh, he
Yeah.
drove the 3 car.
Yeah, I only went to Freeport in the mid-'60s. I was just a little kid then.
Yeah, so did I. Yeah.
No, my,
Yeah, I went around the
years
80s
ago.
when the modified started getting the big guys.
And then, like so see, my dad thought racing was a waste of time, waste of gas, a waste of energy, waste of money. So we weren't wasting our time and gas and energy to go watch it. So if my grandfather didn't come pick me up to take me, I didn't go to these races. And then my Uncle John, who passed away in 06, he ran Freeport, but then he started running ISOP, and I was able to go with my grandfather ISOP, watch my Uncle John race.
But Campy, one day we went out for a late model race, and they get on the loudspeaker, because Paul Masseri had a backup car too, because Campy, Ronnie Thiel owned the body shop, and he was hooked up with Masseri. They came from Ozone Park. And all of a sudden, one day, there's a second car out there, Masseri's backup car. And they're announced on the loudspeaker, we got a special driver. He's in from Italy, and he's going to run tonight. And they announced a big, long Italian name, ended in a vowel naturally, but he couldn't pronounce the thing. And it was Campy. He didn't want to say it was Don Campy because the people didn't want the guys to think he was running against house money.
Yeah.
So he was out there racing, and he was a guest from Italy driving a backward car for Masseri in the late model division. Yeah, it's a crazy story.
Those late models look good back then, too, man.
You know, it's funny.
Modifieds look good.
Back in my Riverhead days when I was the head guy there, we were short cars. We were short cars and wanted to. So Bill Dennison says, get in one of these cars and you drive. We'll make up a fake name the whole bit. I ended up not doing it because, with my luck, we would have been found out. But he said, they did it at Freeport all the time. Just go.
Hey, let me ask you a question, Joe. Is it feasible to take a blunderbuss car and make it into a figure-8 car? I tell you, if I ever owned Riverhead Raceway, I swear to God, I'd buy it. Whatever.
You'd have to take a lot of weight.
Whatever wanted, but first of all, I'd pay $5,000 to win for the modifieds, $4,000 to win for late models. If you came from upstate, Pennsylvania, Jersey, whatever, you get an extra $1,000 bonus. Let the fans come in for freaking $10.
Yeah.
Have a McDonald's on the premises. I'm telling you, I'd run it like a real racetrack, but I wanted to have the
is it feasible?
figure
It
eight
is.
cars back the day like blunderbuss cars. You know what I'm saying? That's figure eight racing.
The guys who are running
These cars are too
the
expensive.
Caprices, and they could be converted into figure-8 cars, real simple, and be competitive, in my opinion. Because the motors are
You
pretty
have more
close.
cars, I
Because
guarantee you.
when I did my blunderbuss motor, PCSS race engines, and I did that motor, I built the bottom end of it like it was a figure-8 motor. Because the rules, there was really, you're allowed 30 over in the blunderbuss motor, but there was a cam lift rule. The cam lift can only be at 290. Now, in the figure-8 motor, there was no, you could lift it 100 feet if you want, So to convert that motor over, we'll just have to change the cam to a high-lift cam. It was high-lift, low duration, whereas with the blunderbuss motor, it was a low-lift. My daughter would sit online idling, and people would say, you might want to check, you might have a couple of wires loose. Yeah, all right, thanks, I'll check it. But once you hit 3,000 RPMs, man, it was like shot out of a rocket.
Why don't they do that? It's feasible. They got more blunderbuss cars.
I've said that for a long
figure eights.
time.
The guys that don't want to do downsize or whatever, You either go late model or Charger racing. Or I take the Chargers and make them late models. And like I said, the figure 8 cars either go late model or you downsize or whatever. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So it would be so much better or whatever. Then Billy was telling me they're having Bandadero races out there.
Bandoleros are
What the
racing
hell's
now.
that deal?
Yeah, the Bandoleros are going to race. That's what they need, 8 divisions now instead of 7.
Well, that's the division that the Cup guys put their younger kids in, even more so than even the legend cars. They kind of run the Bandoleros down there. My take on it is maybe when we ran the 90 car back in Riverhead, back in 1991, 93, whatever, 94, whatever we ran then, there were 42, 44 cars in the Charger division trying to make 24-car starting spots.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that with the figure 8s
I went
and
to
stuff. It was
opening
exciting,
night.
boy.
I went to opening night this year, and there were 9 cars started the main event, and only 4 finished.
Yep.
At
Isis Speedway, my figure 8 car back in '79, and it wasn't a championship day. It was a regular Saturday night. I started 33rd in the Consi. They already qualified 20 cars because they took that 4 heats, 5 out of each heat, and then they ran 2 Consis, 2 out of each Consi, and I started 33rd. And they lined up in the backstretch at Isis. There was no hot laps. You lined up in the backstretch, and I was on the pit ramp in the wall, right there, like teeter-tottering. And all of a sudden, the green light went, the field, it was like being in a Doro. The front row went, everybody's going, I'm still not going. They crossed the start-finish line, I'm still at the top. Take 2, and my friend goes, you're crazy, why are you even wasting your time? Because I wanted to do laps. I knew I was going to qualify, I'd take it 2. I'm not going to pass 30, 31 cars.
No.
But that's how it was back in those days,
It could still be that way if you freaking just tell them this is it. It's got to be like a blunderbuss car. Or
There's
a
too many
dog car.
divisions, that's the problem.
Too many, and
Because what happens
Look
is,
at the modifies,
when,
Jesus.
when there was only 3 divisions, let's say, and I'm just using this as an example. There's 3 divisions, and you know what? Somebody comes in, oh, let's start this division. Let's start the whatever decision. So the people or the powers that be think they're going to create new drivers. They're not. What was happening was the back markers in the 3 divisions they already had said, oh, there's an opportunity, we might win there. Then they go on. Now some knucklehead that's running the back says, oh, we should have this division. Now you have 5 divisions. And it kept getting watered down and watered down.
And it gets more and more expensive. The cheaper division is costing you an arm and a leg, and you go home with nothing.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
But when Brian Cicella ran my figure 8 car the first night, and he literally backed into a 4th place. Doesn't matter. In the book, he was 4th. He got paid for 4th. We got 4th place points. Only 5 cars finished that night, but you go. So he goes to
So
me.
the 8-ball looks like a boat.
Does, but that boat made me a lot of money.
Oh, that thing looks like a
So I go to the payoff window, and he goes, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what the car make? I says, we finished 6th in points or 7th in points the year before in the blunderbuss. I said to him, the figure 8 car made more money tonight than the blunderbuss made all year. And all year. Because the figure 8 payoff is that good. It's that good. And that's one of the things that we like to explain. Hey, we're going to take a quick break before we wrap up. And when we come back, we'll do a little wrap up and talk about some things that are going on, and we'll be on our way. We'll be back.
Anyway, you all know my dog, Mr. Big. Yeah. Well, Dudes and Dudettes Village Music Shop has been in business for over 37 years, serving musicians with the best products and service around. Oh, they have private lessons on all instruments and in all styles of music in their new state-of-the-art digital teaching studios, with the excellent sales and service of guitars, drums, school band instruments, amps, PAs, as well as sheet music, books, and accessories. Basically, Dudes, everything musical. Right, Big? Yeah. Chill out. Village Music has rentals on all instruments, even PA systems for your parties and barbecues. Oh, cool. Dude's Village Music Shop never has a sale on stuff because every day our prices are lower than all the competition. Stores, internet, whatever, guaranteed. Yeah. So come to Village Music Shop, 1495 Montauk Highway in Mastic. Phone 1-800-HEY-DUDE. Anyway.
BeanRadio.com.
Oil City Skate Park, Long Island's only indoor skate park. Skateboarding, BMX, inline skating, open 7 days a week. Nearly 150 decks by Baker, Flip, Girl, Chocolate, Real, Plan B, Crimson, Zero, Element, DGK, Bogata, and more. The best in tees, hoodies, wallets, trucks, wheels, bearings, t-shirts, hats, and DVD. New York's largest Santa Cruz dealer. Introducing Jark Skateboards, Europe's best-selling deck. Oil City Skate Park, 3565 Maple Court, Oceanside, New York. Phone 516-442-0706 or go to www.oilcityska.com for more info.
BeanRadio.com. Welcome to the future of radio. In radio.
Hey, this is Chuck from the Two Guys and the Chick Show. Check us out Wednesday nights from 7 to 9 Eastern Standard Time, where we talk about stupid news, email bag, and all-around BS. Two Guys and the Chick Show, only on enravio.com, broadcasting to the world.
What are you waiting for? Everyone else is advertising on the internet. Shouldn't you? Tired of small returns on phone books, newspapers, radio ads, TV ads, coupon books, direct mail? Everyone is on the internet every day. Advertise on the internet for as low as $100 a month. Over 250,000 impressions per month on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, enravio.com, and more. Go to the Advertise With Us page on enravio.com and get started today.
BeanRadio.com.
Hey, we're back. Hey, just real quick, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy is coming to the Paramount Theater in Huntington, Long Island, New York, Saturday, January 18th at 8 p.m. And Enravio's got your tickets. Click on the contest tab above us to enter to win. Log on to ParamountNewYork.com for a complete listing of all the shows. All right, we're talking offline here. We're talking, just to let everybody know, NewYorkStateDrillTeam.com. If you want to know what's going on in New York State Drill Team Racing. And Bigger74.com. And then click on the Drill Team tab to get the local.
Digger.
Digger 74 is local.
Digger74.com. So you'll find out what's here on Long Island. For those of you in Long Island, those who are upstate, you can go on the
Worth going to see a tournament, folks.
Schedules, results, everything. You know.
It gives like it goes results, information. You know, it's one of those things. If you go to once, I think you're either going to love it or hate it. Just like racing.
The only problem is they have is when they do the water tests. I mean, it's getting a little bit better, but it kind of drags on.
Well,
I know when you go to a fire, you crank it up to 100-pound, whatever, you know.
Yeah, I was a 100 guy. Man.
You know what I'm saying? I think the sport got too technical, but that's the way they run it. What are you going to do? But that's life.
The fire truck racing sport kind of
It was a day of fun. It's supposed to be a day of fun.
But it kind of followed along the lines of NASCAR or, the Class C trucks. They pretty much followed along the lines of the modifieds.
Yeah.
Basically, it's a modified with a different type of body with a hose bed on the back instead of a wing.
Yeah.
Actually, Oyster Bay had Tim Connerino's modified. Wasn't that Tim Connerino's car? Now it's Baldwin's truck? It was Connerino's car. I thought so.
I'm not sure.
And actually, Freddie Harback's Modify is still out there.
Wow.
That car is the Glenwood Landing C truck. And I got verification and all that stuff. And I talked to Mrs. Harback about it. I talked to Alan Harback. And Glenwood Landing C truck, I swear to God, was Freddie Harback's Cavalier Modify when he had a red and silver Cavalier Modify.
Anyways, it's that time. We got to wrap up. And following us, we got Metal Maniacs. Stay on and watch these guys. It's a pretty cool show. These metal guys. I'll tell you what. This metal. Even if you're not into heavy metal, these guys put on a good show. So anyway.
Maybe I could use them for some of my show.
Real quick, Ken, what do you got going on? Long Island Need for Speed?
Long Island Need for Speed is, again, looking for anybody that wants to help out. As a pit reporter, I can't pay you, but you still get exposure on TV and stuff. You have to do an intern or something. It's on every Monday nights in Hot Pog and Brookhaven at 8 o'clock. Channel 20, and it's still available in Nassau County on Thursday nights, 9 o'clock, Channel 115. You get it.
Woodbury Cable, yeah.
You get Woodbury Cable. And looking for a sponsor for that vintage show. If anybody wants to sponsor Long Island Need for Speed, I could use a couple of bucks, even though I went out and bought all new cameras and everything else for this year.
Well, I want to thank you for taking the ride out.
I enjoyed it. It's good talking about the old times and some of the new stuff.
We got to see my firehouse. He went past it 60,000 times, never went inside.
Got the
He was
grand
very
tour
impressed.
of the
Very
how the
impressed.
rich guys do it, Us
Oh,
guys
we're
are
rich,
natural
yeah,
poor,
okay. Yeah, we are rich.
But just working on that street rod a little bit, few more things we had to hustle up to get it ready for the season. So we got a few things to do, And
you'll still be doing drill
I
team
enjoyed
racing.
doing that and going to the drill teams, but the biggest satisfaction I got out of having that streetcar is take it to the shows, and you see some old timers walk by. You don't know who they are, but they look at the car and you see a little smile on their face.
Yeah.
And I look at them and I say, "You remember, don't you?"
Yeah.
And the guy says, "I worked on a car like this at Islip, And quick story, one of the best ones. Guy comes by with his son, kid about 10 years old. I always let the kid sit in the car. I'm not going to hurt the thing. You got to climb in the window with this car. There's no door. This is a race car. Don't have no door. You climb in the window. So we get the kid. He climbs in the window. He sits, and I put the straps on his shoulders. The kid's great. He looks up at his father and says, "This is like Grandpa used to drive, huh?" I look at him. I look at the father. Who's his grandpa? He says, "Jim Lacey."
Wow.
One of the legends
Old-time,
on Long
yeah.
Island. They said,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
the kid, the big smile on his face. This is Grandpa's car.
Nice.
And, so that's what made 2.5 years of hard work,
Sure.
made it worthwhile. It really did. The smile on the old timers and the kids, Grandpa's car. Daddy had a car like this,
Those are the
you'd
real
enjoy it.
modifies.
When race cars were race cars.
That's right.
But we
Those
got to
are
log
real
off
mods.
here. We got Metal Maniacs coming up. I want to thank everybody for coming on tonight, whether you're in the chat room, whether you're just watching. I want to thank everybody. I wish everybody well. And tell somebody you love them, and God bless you all. Thank you.
Yeah, it was good. The show seemed like 5 minutes.